I still remember the exact moment my world stopped. His phone lit up. One message. "Last night was amazing, can't wait to see you again." And just like that, the man I thought I knew, the man I loved more than myself, became a stranger. My hands trembled as I stared at that screen. He was in the kitchen, laughing, humming, making coffee, like nothing had happened. But I knew that everything between us was a lie. People always say betrayal feels like a stab. But for me, it felt like silence. Empty. Cold. The kind of silence that echoes through your chest until it breaks you from the inside. That day I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just smiled and quietly promised myself something: he would never see me break. Because my revenge wouldn't come in anger. It would come in silence. Ethan and I weren't just lovers. We were the couple everyone envied. He was charming. Funny in that effortless way that made people trust him instantly. And me, I was the one who believed in fairy tales. We met at a friend's birthday party. I had spilled juice on his shirt. Typical romantic cliché, right? He laughed it off, offered to buy me a drink, and from that night, we never stopped talking. He'd say things like, "You're my peace in a noisy world." And I believed him. Within months, we were inseparable. Movie nights, weekend trips, talking about the future like it was already written. He'd tell me how he couldn't imagine his life without me. And every time, I'd smile and say, "Don't ever make me find out if that's true." He promised he wouldn't. Funny how people promise things right before they break them. I loved him. Blindly, deeply, completely. I ignored the little things, the late replies, the just a friend excuses. The phone always turned face down. Because when you love someone, you don't see red flags, you see potential. But love without honesty is like a house with cracks. One small storm, and it collapses. The first time I noticed something off, it wasn't dramatic, it was small. Ethan started coming home late. At first, it was once or twice a week, a meeting that ran long, a last-minute deadline. He'd text me, "Don't wait up, I'll grab dinner on the way." I believed him. Of course I did. Because that's what love does. It hands you trust. Even when your gut starts whispering that something isn't right. Then, the busy nights became routine. The laughter in his messages grew shorter. The calls, quicker. He'd come home distracted, smelling of cologne that wasn't his usual one. One night, I called his office, just to check if he needed me to pick him up. His coworker answered, "Ethan, oh, he left a while ago, maybe 2 hours back." The air left my chest. My fingers went cold. I hung up and sat there for a long time, staring at the wall, pretending it was nothing. Pretending he was still the same man I loved. I told myself he might have gone to the gym. Maybe he stopped by a friend's place. Maybe he just needed some space. But the thing about lies is, they always leave traces. The next morning, I smelled something on him, a soft floral perfume. Not mine. It lingered on his jacket, his neck, even the inside of his car. My heart pounded as I looked at him across the kitchen table. He was scrolling through his phone, smiling faintly. Not at me. At something else. "Ethan," I said quietly, "are you seeing someone else?" He looked up, startled, then laughed. That easy, fake kind of laugh that tries to smooth over cracks. "Of course not," he said. "Don't be paranoid, babe." His voice sounded calm, reassuring. But his eyes couldn't look at me for more than 2 seconds. They darted away, landing on anything but me. And that told me everything. After that, nothing felt normal. Every time his phone buzzed I froze. Every "just a message from work" felt like a lie. I started memorizing his schedule, his routes, his excuses. I wasn't trying to catch him. I was trying to protect my heart from what I already knew. Sleep stopped coming easy. I'd lie in bed beside him, listening to his breathing, wondering if he was dreaming about her. Every morning, I'd put on a smile like armor. Go to work. Pretend everything was fine. But inside, I was falling apart. It's painful, isn't it? Loving someone so much that their betrayal makes you feel guilty. You start thinking, maybe I'm not enough. Maybe I'm the reason he's drifting away. I started changing. The bubbly, laughing girl he used to know became quieter, colder, distant. Because when someone slowly erases your peace, You learn to protect what's left, even if it means building walls around your own heart. The night I finally knew, it didn't feel like fate. It felt like a decision, a split second where something inside me stopped pretending. He left his phone on the bed when he went to shower. Steam filled the bathroom. I could hear the water. My heart was loud in the quiet room. I told myself, don't look. But curiosity isn't always harmless. Sometimes it's survival. My fingers hovered. Then I opened his messages. There it was, her name, Sophie, little hearts, voice notes, photos. Inside jokes I'd never heard. Plans for weekends that had nothing to do with me. He called her the same things he used to call me. My angel, my reason, my forever. The words blurred. My stomach dropped. My hands felt heavy. The world narrowed to that glowing screen and the life I thought I had. When he stepped out of the shower, I didn't scream. I didn't throw the phone. I didn't cry. I folded the silence into my mouth and pushed it down. Instead, I handed him his phone like handing a stranger a lost thing. Tell Sophie I said hi. I said quietly. He froze. For a second, his face looked like the man I loved, shocked, ashamed. Then his mouth opened, then closed, and no apology came out that sounded real. It was a mistake, he stammered. It didn't mean anything. You're overreacting. The excuses rolled out like they were practiced. Smooth, deflecting, safe for him. But betrayal isn't measured by how much it meant to them. It's measured by how much it broke you. I felt hollowed out. Not the dramatic kind of hurt that breaks into sobs. The quiet, heavy kind that rearranges you. It was like being made small inside my own skin. I packed a bag that night. Not in a rush. Not in drama. I packed with a steady hand and a slow, careful breath. I took the essentials and the box with his notes. I took the photos where he'd looked at me the way I thought he'd always look. I left the keys on the table. I left the door unlocked. Not for him, but so I could leave without a scene. I wanted none of his apologies witnessed. I wanted my exit to be clean. No yelling, no pleading, no public collapse. Just a suitcase, a silent apartment, and the low hum of the city through the window. I walked away without looking back. My legs were steady, even when my chest wasn't. The tears didn't come until I reached the car. Then one or two, quiet as rain. Because silence is power. It can make a moment heavy enough that the person who caused it finally feels the weight of what they did. It can turn absence into an accusation. It can be louder than any argument. That night, I didn't want to break him with my voice. I wanted to break the life he'd built on lies. And he was about to find out exactly how much silence can do. Everyone expected a scene. Friends guessed I'd blow up his phone. Family thought I'd show up at his workplace. Social media whispered that I'd post everything and make him pay in public. But I surprised them. Mostly, I surprised myself. I went quiet. Not dramatic quiet. Not bitter or loud, just gone. First I blocked his number. Not just once, on every app, every account. I deleted our photos from my phone. I took down the pictures from my social pages. I cleared out the playlist he had made me and the little notes he tucked into my bag. It felt strange, like erasing handwriting from a page, but necessary. Then I moved out. I didn't slam doors or shout goodbyes. I packed a bag with measured hands and left the keys on the counter. I walked out of our apartment like I was leaving a set after the final take. Collected, composed, gone. I even changed jobs. It wasn't about running. It was about a clean break. About making sure there were no easy places for him to find me. No late night bar where he might show up. No familiar cafe where our table waited. I erased myself from his world like I had never been a chapter in his life at all. Because sometimes, revenge doesn't look like sabotage. Sometimes it looks like absence. You don't have to destroy someone directly to make them feel the loss. You remove the thing they took for granted. You become the silence where their life used to be. Weeks passed. At first, he tried the obvious routes. Mutual friends texted me, awkward and nervous, relaying his messages. He called people who knew my schedule. Once, he even turned up at my old office, standing in the reception area like a man trying to read a map in a foreign city. He asked around. He grew frantic. He wanted answers, he wanted to fix things. But every door he opened led to a dead end. And that's when it began to change him. Guilt is a subtle thing. It doesn't always roar. It seeps. It hollows. I heard small things at first. A mutual friend confided that he'd been restless, unable to sleep. Then came the news that Sophie hadn't stuck around. She'd seen the pattern and left. He was suddenly the one sitting across empty plates, the one replaying his choices. Karma is quiet. It doesn't need a person to push it along. It only needs time. So I waited. Not with a calendar and a checklist, but with a steady heart. I focused on myself. I took classes I'd postponed. I met new people. I learned to be comfortable in my own company. Every step forward was a quiet victory. And then, months later, his name, or rather a new number, flashed on my phone. I miss you. Please talk to me. I read it once. Twice. My thumb hovered over reply like it had a memory of a map I no longer needed. I didn't reply. I let the message sit unread, a small monument to the life he'd chosen. My silence wasn't cruelty. It wasn't gloating. It was a boundary. It was the message that some losses are final, and some people must live with the echoes they made. He wanted closure. He wanted the story to have a neat ending where everything was explained and forgiven. But people who betray you don't always deserve closure. They deserve to face the emptiness they created and to understand, in the quiet, what they lost. Months had passed. By then, the ache had dulled. I was healing, not perfectly, but steadily. I had built new routines, new memories, new peace. The version of me that once cried herself to sleep had learned to smile again. Not because she forgot, but because she finally remembered who she was before him. I didn't think about Ethan much anymore. He was just a story I had already closed. But fate, it has a strange sense of humor. One afternoon, I walked into a cafe after work. My favorite place, quiet, warm, always smelling like coffee and cinnamon. I ordered my usual drink, turned around, and there he was, Ethan. For a second, it felt like time stopped. The same man who once made my heart race, now just made it skip, for a different reason. He looked different. Not bad. Just tired. Like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. His eyes were dull, his posture slouched. The confident charm he used to wear like armor was gone. He looked like a man who had lost something he couldn't replace. When our eyes met, his face froze. For a heartbeat, we both stood there, trapped between memory and reality. Then he smiled, small and uncertain. "You look good," he said softly. I nodded, returning a calm smile. "I am." And I meant it. He hesitated, then asked, "Can we talk? Just for a minute?" I could have said no, I should have. But something in me, not anger, not longing, just quiet strength, wanted to hear what he had to say. Not for closure, but to let him see that I didn't need it anymore. We sat down at a corner table, the same kind of place where we used to plan vacations and talk about dreams. But this time, the air felt different. It was mine. He started talking fast, words tumbling over each other. "I messed up. I know I did. I was stupid. I didn't realize what I had. I miss you. I can't sleep. I can't stop thinking about you." He talked about how Sophie left. How nothing felt right since I was gone. How his apartment felt empty, even with people in it. His voice cracked halfway through, like he was finally saying the things he should have said when it mattered. And I just listened. Calm. Composed. Silent. Every word he said used to be something I needed to hear. But now, they sounded like echoes in a place I'd already left behind. I sipped my coffee slowly, my heartbeat steady. He finished talking, searching my face for some sign of forgiveness, or maybe hope. His eyes pleaded, "Say something." So I did. "Ethan," I began gently, "I forgave you a long time ago. But I also outgrew you." He blinked. His lips parted, but no words came out. The color drained from his face, and in that silence, I saw the exact moment it hit him. The realization that I wasn't angry anymore. I was free. For once, he was the one standing in silence. And I was the one at peace. That was my revenge. Not ruining his life, not shouting, not exposing him, just showing him, quietly and gracefully, that his betrayal didn't destroy me. It freed me. And as I stood to leave, I felt lighter. Not because he understood what he lost, but because I finally understood what I gained myself. After that day in the cafe, I never saw Ethan again. No texts, no calls, no sudden appearances. It was as if the universe had finally decided that our story was done. No more pages left to turn. And honestly, I didn't need any more. I stopped waiting for apologies that wouldn't change the past. I stopped replaying old memories like a movie that only ends in heartbreak. I stopped checking what he was doing, where he was, who he was with. Instead, I turned all that energy, all that pain, back toward myself. I started small, morning walks, painting again, cooking meals just for me. At first, it felt strange, being alone, hearing only my own thoughts. But soon, that quiet began to feel like home. I made new friends. The kind of people who didn't know my story, who didn't look at me with pity, who just liked me for who I was right now. Not who I used to be. I traveled. Not far, not fancy, just enough to remind myself that the world was still big and beautiful and full of second chances. And one morning, as I sat by my window with a cup of coffee, I realized something simple but powerful. I wasn't sad anymore. The silence that once felt unbearable had become peaceful. It wasn't empty anymore, it was full of me, my growth, my laughter, my new beginnings. I didn't need revenge the way I thought I did. Because true revenge isn't about making someone else hurt. It's about showing that they no longer have the power to. The best revenge is peace. It's waking up and realizing you've healed in ways they'll never understand. It's living so well that they can't even stand to think about what they lost. And that's exactly what I did. I rebuilt. I redefined. I rose. He may have broken my trust, but I turned that heartbreak into strength. And in the end, my silence, the same silence that once tore me apart, became my greatest victory. Because peace is the loudest revenge of all. If you're listening to this right now, and someone has betrayed you, I know how much it hurts. I know what it's like to wake up in the middle of the night, wondering what you did wrong, to question your worth, to replay every conversation, to search for the moment things changed. I know how it feels to carry a love that someone else took for granted. But please, remember this: their betrayal says nothing about you. It says everything about them. Their choices are not a reflection of your value. Their lies don't erase your truth. And their inability to stay loyal doesn't mean you weren't enough. It means they weren't ready to be the kind of person you deserved. You don't need to scream. You don't need to beg them to see your pain. You don't need to prove your worth to someone who already threw it away. Just walk away. Let silence do the talking, because silence is powerful. It unsettles people who expect chaos. It reminds them that you were calm, kind, and constant, until they taught you not to be. And one day, when their world goes quiet, they'll remember the sound of your voice. The way you laughed. The way you spoke softly even when you were hurting. And they'll realize they'll never hear it again. And in that silence, they'll finally understand what they lost. So don't chase revenge. Don't chase closure. Chase peace. Chase yourself. Because healing, that's the real victory. When you can look back, not with anger, but with gratitude. Because their betrayal didn't break you, it revealed your strength. And one day, you'll wake up, breathe deeply, and smile. Because you'll finally understand, you were never the one who lost.